Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the official WrestleMania 37 Night 1 review. And boy, is there a lot to talk about tonight as WrestleMania has concluded shortly, just a little bit of time ago. And we've got, of course, YouTube's the Botch guy here, and we'll be discussing with him everything that happened at WrestleMania with really just I think a very, very well done Night 1. No big shocks, surprises, or returns. Maybe that's set for tomorrow night, but we did not have our lack of good matches. We had certainly some botches, and with that, I think that's a nice, smooth transition into introducing the Botch guy here. And guys, bear with us because we are live right now, and if you'd like to call in, that call-in number is 516-387-1443. I just tweeted out the link, so hopefully you guys can join us here. And at this time, let me introduce the Botch guy. How you doing, man?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Do you hear me, my friend?
I can hear you. Put your, I would say, a little closer to the mic, but it sounds okay.
If I get any closer, I'll be starting to make out with it. But hey, thanks for having me. It's going to be just a great show. I'm the Botch guy on YouTube. If you guys don't know, I've been doing YouTube content and wrestling content for a very, very long time now. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic. And let's talk some WrestleMania, man.
Absolutely. This is, well, first of all, let me ask this. Before we get into some of the details, and we'll start with some of the matches in a minute, what did you think overall? Coming out of Night 1, were you sitting there thinking to yourself, man, that felt like WrestleMania, or were you kind of thinking, this is kind of underwhelming? How did you feel overall once this night concluded?
Well, it's kind of weird, right? Because the booking towards WrestleMania, the road to WrestleMania was, not the hype was just not there. Let's be honest, it was probably one of the worst road to WrestleMania. But I thought the first show was a good show. I was entertained basically throughout the entire show, and I can't say that for a lot of pay-per-views out there this year. So the fact is, I was entertained. I thought they had some fantastic moments on the show, memorable moments, maybe not so much except for obviously the finish at the very, very end. But you know what? I feel like we're going to be talking a lot about Bad Bunny tonight.
You know what? We will be, and I really am. I was very surprised by Bad Bunny, and you know what? Just because that is probably a highlight of the night, I want to ask you about that match. I'll start there because my question to you is, did you well, I don't think anyone expected this. Did you even think that he was putting in this much work? What were your expectations for Bad Bunny in this match? What did you think he was going to do with Damian Priest by his side?
Honestly, I didn't expect much. I thought maybe some sort of jump off the top ropes and maybe sell a little bit. But he blew my mind. Like, he comes out in a semi-truck, which was awesome, by the way. I love like the nice shot they had with the night. I thought that was fantastic. Man, he was selling all over the place. He had some rolls. Obviously, near the end, he had that amazing Canadian destroyer. You know what? Even the Miz during the match looked legitimately shocked at what he was seeing because he was moving around very fluently, guys. And the thing is, this isn't like an NFL star like Pat McAfee. This isn't Ronda Rousey coming from the UFC, right? This is a rapper, is the hip hop guy, right? So the fact that he can move that way and it did like that amazing Hurricane Rana and the spin there. Oh my God, I was blown away by his performance. I think it's going to go down as maybe the third best celebrity performance maybe in WWE history. I'm putting it up there for sure.
That is, like, it really
wrestling wise, I mean.
Yeah, no, Absolutely. Wrestling-wise, WWE has certainly had its share of celebrity involvement, and they even alluded to that in the commentary that that they've had several celebrities in the past, and that this has to be one of the best performances. There's no doubt about it. And look, I was really down on Bad Bunny. I was not a fan of them bringing in celebrities. I'm never a fan of them bringing in celebrities for the most part, just because you're going to usually get a half-hearted attempt, a half-hearted effort by the celebrities that are, they're there, but they're there just because it's a collaboration. They don't usually put in 100%. They're there because they're scratching your back and you're scratching theirs, and then we go on our way after WrestleMania. But Bad Bunny here clearly put in a ton of time at the Performance Center or Capital City Wrestling Center, wherever he was, put in a ton of time because these guys trusted their livelihood with Bad Bunny holding their hands. I mean, that move that he did, and forgive me what the name of that move was, but he basically did a pile driver on the outside of the ring. I mean, it was to John Morrison. I'm like, dude, you have a lot of trust in Bad Bunny to not paralyze you. I mean, that was insane. And credit to Bad Bunny. The one thing I will say, though, while it's a predictable outcome, the outcome was never in question. I have a standing rule that celebrities should never, ever go over at WrestleMania. But unfortunately, I've been proven wrong about 100% of the time. That's the one problem I have. Credit where credit's due. I just don't like when celebrities go over because it leaves the egg on the face of the people that are there while they go off and, do whatever they normally do in their regular lives. So.
But in all seriousness, though, we had the Miz coming out with a bunch of bunnies, right? Like, he wasn't exactly taking this as seriously as he usually does in the past. And, always with his gimmick, there's always been something about, like, him not being as serious as a champion, even when he does get his pushes. So I guess it makes a little bit of sense. I thought there was going to be some sort of heel turn there, maybe with the Miz or Morrison, like something. I thought there was going to be some sort of turn against each other, right? And it didn't happen, so I was a little bit surprised. And I do apologize. I was probably supposed to mention, it is the road to 70K on my channel. If you guys can sub there, I'd really appreciate it. But, yeah, man, always, guys, I'm telling you, it was a pretty damn good match. I was blown away. Honestly, straight up blown away. I thought it was a fantastic match, Matt.
Yeah, look, I am eating my words about Bad Bunny, and it doesn't taste good. It tastes awful, and I am,
great.
Yeah. So I will leave it at that. It was, again, Bad Bunny had his moment. People were cheering for him. I thought the crowd might turn on this match. It made you wonder that they could have easily done a one-on-one with The Miz and Bad Bunny. And you think, they were added. The tag team match was done so that you have Damian Priest and John Morrison to basically carry 90% of the match. And in fact, it was the opposite, which is insane. So, credit where credit's due, man. I have nothing left to say about that. So let's get into the beginning of the show here, which started with it started with Vince McMahon. It started, of course, before that with a rain delay. The gods of wrestling are angry with Vince. And I talked to you about this off air. And if anybody remembers back in 2006 with Vince McMahon challenging God to a match, and he beat God in a wrestling match between him and Shane McMahon versus Shawn Michaels and God. I remember that so well that people were tweeting out and putting out memes that Vince is finally getting God is getting revenge on Vince McMahon for that particular match, 15 years ago now. But Vince comes out.
He didn't even put God over?
No. That's the thing. He didn't even put God over. That's what made it so Vince McMahon-like. But first of all, we had the rain delay. It was about a half an hour. We had the interviews, which were all unscripted, and you could tell there's such a difference when they're unscripted. And I had no problem with that. They had to fill time. And then they go to Vince McMahon coming out, which, I have to say, I have no problem with Vince coming out, but for all the hype that was going to be Drew McIntyre versus Lashley at the beginning of the show, you were hoping that the crowd would be so fresh, so ready to see somebody that, is it really Vince, the one that needs to take that first pop? Why couldn't it be Drew McIntyre? But I understand why Vince was there. Am I a fan of everyone coming out at the beginning of the show? No, I'm not. I don't like that. Vince could have come out just himself. We don't need the Broadway theatrics of everybody coming out like we're about to put on a play for you guys. I don't like that at all. Unless it's for a death of a wrestler, then you put everything aside. But for them to all come out on stage like we're all friends and clapping and happy to be here, and then suddenly we hate each other in 5 minutes, I don't like that. But I understand why Vince did it. It was a good speech by Vince, and I understand why he did that. Do you have any thoughts on the delay while you were doing a weather report on YouTube, and of course Vince McMahon coming out and making that announcement?
Yeah, I was the weatherman today. if you're wondering who was the guy doing the weather report on YouTube today, believe it or not, that was actually me. I decided to just do random weather report because I figured people needed to know what the heck was going on. But what do I think about those people standing on stage? I'll be honest. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on this one. I love the moment. Actually, I like the moment so much that I got a little bit of goosebumps from it. I needed that moment. It was emotional for me, seeing all the wrestlers out there kind of supporting each other, and I saw a lot of wrestlers cry on stage during that moment. And even though you're right, Vince McMahon probably shouldn't have been leading the charge. I think it would be nice if it was just all the wrestlers, maybe Vince in the back for once, like he doesn't have to be in the front stage every time. But I needed that moment. I thought it was a fantastic moment. It was definitely a good way to start off the show. I agree that Drew McIntyre, would have been nice to have just that entrance, but I feel like it was bigger than that entrance, and I was emotional during it, so I'm going to just take the devil's advocate approach on just that one, my friend.
No, cool. I love when people disagree with me. I mean, even though just because I have somebody on my show or I go on someone's show, I don't always need the validation that I'm right. I mean, that's what wrestling's for, is debate and different opinions, and that's cool. I mean, that's great. Yeah, I understand the emotion of the moment. I'm all for it. I guess I just place the curtain, in other words, I guess the disbelief, kayfabe, above almost all else except death. I mean, like that. That's how I guess valued I look at it. But before we continue on, we do have a call here, so I want to get to that call, and then we'll move on with the card, because there is a ton of stuff, and especially if you're the Botch guy and you are the official Botch guy on YouTube, go subscribe. There was a hilarious botch, but I also feel bad about it that we'll get to, and I really want to ask you about that, and you made a whole video on that. Go check his YouTube channel. But let's get to our caller here, and let's go. It's area code 847. You are on. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, man, this is Ben calling from Chicago. How's it going?
How you doing, Ben?
Good, how's it going, Ben? How's it going? Love the show, you all. I was just about to make a comment about how I can't wait for everything the Botch guy does on poor Mandee. Who, God bless her. It must have been slippery as all heck, man. Like, God bless her. I'll be honest, Ben. I when that happened, I felt bad for her too, my friend. I just feel like she goes through so much all the time, but yeah, whatever. I actually did want to call and talk about Bunny, actually, which seems like the most random thing to call about on WrestleMania, to talk about celebrity. But, I was actually really pleasantly surprised by him in the show. And with that, like, if you're going to be a celebrity and you're going to be something they're going to use to market, there's been a lot of celebrities who come in for a week, 2 weeks, and very clearly, like, fly out after each 2-minute appearance. And, like, he's just put in the work. He's been here for months and months when he's got gigs all over. So I know we, as, like, hardcore wrestling fans, love to trash celebrity appearances, but I'll give him a pass on this one and say, that like the beginning of the match looked kind of weird, but then the Destroyer was good. The Tope Suicida was good. I thought in general he looked pretty good, and him he took about 8 minutes before they got Priest in there, and I thought that's a lot for someone who doesn't do it. I was expecting him to come in for a 30-second spot.
It was really surprising. I thought it was going to be your typical 2 minutes, like I said at the beginning of the show, like it was going to be maybe even 90% of it is just Morrison and what's his name? Damian Priest. And they were just going to be going at it for a while, and you'd occasionally get the tease of a tag in, right? And you all know that it's eventually going to happen, but it's going to be very minimal. He probably knows a basic move or two, and that's not what happened. It was the complete opposite, telling me that they didn't even need John Morrison and Damian Priest in the match. They just didn't. It was
Matt,
really...
Sorry, Matt. How often do you see a celebrity start a match and it literally, just like Ben said there, go for 8 minutes long before the first tag? I don't think I've ever seen that before,
Never.
To be completely honest. I was shocked. And it's not like he was looking fatigued. It's not like he was going and going. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, is he going to do the whole match? Like, this is spectacular. Like, I have so much respect for him. Like, I know he really cares about my respect, but you know what? Honestly, I have so much respect for Bad Bunny, and that's a brilliant point by Ben there. I can't agree more.
Yeah, I gotta say one more thing too. Just you were just talking about it. I 100% agree, Matt, with my good friend the Botch guy about Bianca at the end. I mean, there was something just about yes. Kayfabe was broken because there's also this video going around about Sasha after the match, just laughing and smiling. But I don't know, man. Like that was, kayfabe was broken, but that's the reason why I watch wrestling. The raw emotion of it was unbelievable.
The raw emotion.
It was a top 10 WrestleMania match I think I've seen.
And we didn't even really get to in detail about the match. I mean, we were commenting about the beginning when everyone was on stage and they're all standing there clapping, and it's not my thing. Like, I understand the emotion about it, but I'm more protective of kayfabe. I mean, the match. I know what you mean.
I thought you were talking about the end. My bad.
Oh no, not yet. I mean, but
I have really nothing. Ben. But you are right. That was an emotional moment too, by the way. Yeah. So it actually worked out for both. We'll be talking about that bad boy, me and Matt, in a couple seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, did you have anything else?
Have a good night, guys. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful show, and I'll be listening to the rest tomorrow. Have a good one.
Sounds good, man. Have a good night.
Bye, Ben.
All right. Well, let's continue on here because there is certainly a lot more to talk about here with the card. And well, I don't want to get to the main event yet because I really actually don't have a whole lot of negative to talk about tonight. I don't know about you. I really don't. It was a very, very solid WrestleMania match, or WrestleMania Night 1. But I want to talk about Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre because that's what started the show. Once we got past Vince McMahon and God's punishment for him, we get to Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and I'm going to give you this one to you. Were you shocked by the outcome, and what did you think of the quality of the match?
I thought the quality of the match was a balanced match, and I will agree with you. There's really not much negative to talk about. God, we'll even talk about the Shane McMahon match, which was pretty positive as well. But no, it was a solid pay-per-view as a whole. As for the match, I thought it was a good balanced match. I thought they played the crowd pretty well. They clearly made a good face there, a good heel there, because people like Bobby Lashley too, right? It's hard to boost someone you actually like. I don't know a lot of people actually dislike Bobby Lashley. They were really happy when he did win that title before, and so they needed to kind of get those clear boundaries, which I think was important. I thought it was a solid match. I wouldn't say it's the best match from both those guys. I wouldn't even say it's the best match they've had recently, but I would say it was good enough. It was entertaining enough. It got through enough, and I was pretty much pleased. Now, as for the outcome, I had Bobby Lashley with the win. I was a bit surprised after watching the match, though. Like, when I was watching the match, I'm like, oh, the way they're structuring this is a Drew McIntyre win with the crowd and, have that big pop moment. But I did pick Bobby Lashley to win before the match started. So I'm happy Bobby Lashley now is going to have a legitimate long run because there's no way they're going to take the belt off him this quickly, especially now. So it makes me think, what's next for Bobby Lashley? Can I say the magic name? Is this allowed?
We all know what you're thinking. We all know what you're thinking. Yeah.
But Brock Lesnar has a natural storyline with Roman Reigns as well, with Paul Heyman and everything. So like, what match? What story would you prefer to see? Right? Like, there's so much they could do there. But no, I'm okay with the ending. I'm okay with it. I have no problem with it. Surprised they did it though.
Yeah, that's to me exactly it. And I'll give my opinion on this, and then we'll get to another call that we have. 615, we'll get to you in just a minute. I'll say this, that this match, I was actually a little higher on it than I think maybe you were. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was epic. I think it was just, it surprised me how good it was. And that, I mean, I don't know, maybe I set the bar lower, which is why it was exceeded for me, but they, I think, really busted their ass. I think that they really did the best that they could. They put a hell of a lot of effort into this match. They beat each other senseless. There weren't a whole lot of botches in this match. It was clean for the most part. And I think they told a good story. We didn't see a single Claymore. And we established two things in this match. Number one, that Bobby Lashley's the real deal, and WWE is going all in on this guy. That's the message I got, number one. Number two, the Hurt Lock is now officially a money finisher. This is not one that people get out of. This is one that when it gets applied, it's over. I mean, if Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania can't get out of it, that tells you what the message WWE is sending fans. And I was shocked. I literally, when the match was over and Drew McIntyre passed out, he didn't tap out. That's a very important clarification. He passed out. That tells me that WWE is going full bore on this guy. And I literally, though, I go, oh, my God, because everybody kind of in the back of their mind were like, well, it's probably going to be Drew. He's going to get it back. He's going to have that moment in front of fans that he didn't get last year. WWE is going to make good on last year's moment for Drew, and that's not what happened. So any response, Botch Guy, and then we'll get to our caller?
No, I think you summed it up great. I'm curious what the caller has to say.
All right. Well, let's see. Mr. or Mrs. 615, I guess we'll find out. Say your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, how y'all guys doing? The Mr. Casual Wrestling fan here.
Yes, it is. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just high off of what I just seen on wrestling tonight.
What'd you think?
Well, you guys know I'm a big Bobby and Lashley fan. Hey, I'm highly impressed. I'm glad that it feels like WWE is giving him the torch and letting him take it, and you know, I'm in on it. I love the psychology behind the match. You know, the 3 future shock DDTs. I'm kicking out of that. You know, I think Drew, because you know I like Drew. He doesn't look weak in this. I mean, he looks weak, but he doesn't look bad as I think Bobby would have looked had he lost. You know, even with him going for the Claymore and MVP, you know, distracting him for that split second. You know, that's kind of like that's just a little hinky. So I loved it. I mean, the Hurt Lock looked great. He passed out. Very high on that match. It was great.
Botch Guy, what did you think?
I can't agree with you more, man. Like, Bobby Lashley is a guy that every time you looked at him, you always said, how is he not on the top of the card with everything he does, right? Because he has charisma. He has the look. He has power. You know, he's a good wrestler. He's not bad on the microphone either. Like, some people think he's terrible on the microphone. I don't think that at all. I think he's pretty decent on the microphone. Of course, having a manager like MVP enhances his character, no doubt about it. But I don't think he's ever been any poor on the microphone or anything like that. I thought he had a really good performance, and I was actually surprised they didn't pull the. You know, they did break out of the kind of the Hurt Lock there a little bit, but I thought they were going to do a spot where they're both in the middle and Drew's down, and then he's going to, like, break it out like Master style. Remember when he got out of the Master Lock or whatever back in the day? I thought they were going to do that spot, and then Drew was going to take the win. Like, I thought that was the spot, right? But it never did happen. But, no, I agree with you, caller. No doubt about it.
Yes, and to go further on deeper into the card, and I know how Matt feels about Bad Bunny, but we got to give my guy some props.
Oh, no question.
Was a good, That was a great match. He obviously put in some work. I mean, he's not no wrestler, obviously. But compared to other, celebrities who came in and the pop he got from the crowd, I think he did great.
Absolutely, and we just went through this, towards the beginning of the show, and I told the Botch guy, I said, listen, I am eating my words because I stand by one thing, though. I stand by that WWE should not ever allow celebrities, if they're going to come in, to win unless there's a really, really, really good reason, or there's some credentialed performer, like if Conor McGregor was to come in, or whoever. But for a musician to come in, I was down on it because at the end of the day, the wrestler is going to be the one to take the fall. Bad Bunny goes away, and then you're left with the wrestler who just lost to a musician. However, he clearly put in his work. He earned the respect of fans immediately by showing them that he wasn't just sitting on his backside, that he was actually, putting in a ton of work, making sure that he wasn't going to be embarrassing at WrestleMania or just kind of do the basic one or two moves. I have to give him, all the credit in the world, because what he did from probably going from scratch to WrestleMania and performing like that and getting that reaction from the fans, I have nothing but praise to say about it, and I feel like I'm in a dream saying that. I mean, I've been crapping on this whole story since the Royal Rumble, and Bad Bunny brought it. I have nothing else to say. Bad Bunny brought it tonight, no question. But
that's what's fantastic about wrestling. When you have a kind of an opinion of something, and then they do a job there where it blows your mind, or it does way better than expected, and it makes you think. It makes you think maybe, just maybe, they had an idea. But I don't think it was anything more. Like, it's not like the WWE's thinking, oh, we're geniuses right now, or, that's what people are saying. No. This is Bad Bunny busting his ass off camera in the last 2 months and really working on his wrestling. And he was, I said it before and I'll say it again, I thought he was just, he blew my mind. I thought he was spectacular for a celebrity performance. I was quite floored, man. I thought he did an unbelievable job.
I totally agree. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Did you have anything else about WrestleMania you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, last thing. I'm pretty sure y'all covered this too, but when Braun Strowman grabbed Shane's hand through that fence, I didn't know he was going to rip it. I don't know if that's something that's happened in the past, but that totally, I was like, oh. So I love that spot.
You're telling me you don't have that sort of strength?
Yeah. Totally. But, I love your podcast, Matt, and Botch guys. Hey, I love you too. You great on your sports, on wrestling especially, and hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it.
All right. You have a good night, man. Well, I'm sure I'll hear you on the mailbag this week, I hope. All right. So let's continue on here. And let's see. I lost my track. So we talked about Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and that whole thing. Did you have any final thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I think we covered it pretty at length there.
All right. How about the women's tag team turmoil match with Natalya and Tamina coming out on top, beating out the Riot Squad? The Riot Squad were my pick, so I lose bad. But Natalya and Tamina come out. They are going to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler tomorrow night for the women's tag team titles. What did you think about this match? Were they your pick? What did you think?
I'll be. First of all, it was my pick. I'm actually on fire. This whole pay-per-view, I did have Natalya and Tamina pulling this one off. So, but I'll be honest, I was too busy laughing and making the videos with Mandee Rose's Botch with the entrance there. You know what? I talked a little bit about it, but I'll get more into it now. Like, I felt like immediately when she slipped, I'm like, I know this is going to be like the Titus Worldwide, or at least something similar. Like, people are going to be talking about this for sure. Like, this thing is going around for sure. And I felt bad for her because it's a different situation with Titus, because it wasn't raining or anything. When Titus slipped, he just slipped, right? And then, like, with Batista, when he tripped over the ropes, right, at WrestleMania, like, he just tripped over the ropes. Like, it happens, right? But, like, she had a legitimate reason why she slipped. Like, it was pissing rain right before. The match was, the WrestleMania was delayed. I'm sure it was slippery as heck on the stage. So when she bailed, like, I felt so bad. But you know what? I'm actually a big Mandee Rose fan. I think she's brilliant. I think she's awesome. She did some great work there with her lovely partner, the old one. God, it's just my name is going. Sonya
Deville, yeah.
Yeah, Sonya Deville, and I thought she did some great stuff there. So I felt bad for her. Did you? What was your opinion when you saw the slip there?
It was a bunch of emotions, and they all happened within a split second. It was, oh my God, it was shock, and then it was laughter, and then it was like, oh my God, I feel really bad. And that was all within like literally a couple of seconds. And yeah, there's a GIFs flying all over Twitter now, and people are saying she had a WrestleMania moment. And some of it was funny, you know. So she finally got a WrestleMania moment. So I laughed at that, and then you feel for like the human being, right? Like you feel for her as a human being. She's, you know, she gets ready, she's pumped, she's nervous, you know, and then she comes out and she falls on her ass, like just boom. And like you should, I mean, I don't know if you saw her face. If you zoom in, her face is like, yeah. I feel really bad.
That's exactly it, though. But like, she went on Twitter. Apparently, she played it off really well, and she's like, "Well, there's my tightest worldwide moment," or whatever. And that's how she should do it, right? Because like, honestly, if this was me,
own it.
And I bailed like at a WrestleMania. Like honestly, I would look back and just crack up. Like honestly, like I wouldn't think of it as like, oh, I'm embarrassed, I don't want people to see me. I would think of it as like, oh my God, people are going to be talking about this until I'm dead. You know, like that's how people should talk about it. I think like I felt bad for her, but I think she played it off really well, and that's the way to do it. Because if you get really upset and all that stuff, like, it just kind of snowpiles, and it causes problems with anxiety and stuff like that. And I think if you kind of own it and you kind of laugh about it, like people will laugh about it too, and it just moves on. Like look at Titus O'Neil, like he got merchandise from his Botch. You know what I mean? Like it's not the end of the world because something like that happens. You didn't kick someone's head off or anything. You know what I mean?
She is being talked about like infinitely more than WWE designed her to be talked about from a simple slip. So people are talking about her. People like, and that's like you said, if she owns this, and she should, this could be the best thing that ever happened to her in the last couple of years. I mean, even since last year when she was, with Otis, and he finally gets the girl with Dolph Ziggler and that whole storyline that paid off last year. So she's now going from that to falling on her ass, walking down to the ring. But yeah, so it's honestly, it's embarrassing. It's funny. You feel bad, but then you realize, you know what? People are talking about her. People are laughing, but it doesn't matter. Like they are now thinking and talking about you. She can use it in her promos. People who are facing her can make fun of her, but she's now relevant, and so she should not look at this as a negative. But it was funny in the moment, and you felt bad and all that stuff. So, but you had the right pick, Natalya and Tamina, and you know what? I should have given all the foundation they laid over the last several months, really, of them getting big wins out of nowhere. And I'm happy for Tamina, who is finally getting her due. Even Corey Graves has said that this is, I'm paraphrasing, that this is the most relevant she's been, in her career. He said something like, you could argue this is the biggest match she's had in her tenured career. And it's true. Tamina is, if you're a Tamina fan, she's getting her due right now, and we'll see if they pay it off tomorrow night. Early prediction, I think they will. But all right. Anything else before we move on?
No, I just pretty much wanted to say what you said there. I will say this. I think it was more just giving a rub to Natalya and Tamina for all the hard work they've been doing, like not just recently, but like just overall in their careers. Because again, like they're gonna have another match tomorrow, and I don't see that happening. I don't see a win happening for them. So I think it was just kind of more like a thank you more than anything. And the other girls weren't pushed as hard, and I don't feel like they were storyline wise. It didn't make sense to have those girls win. And even with Tamina and Natalya, I didn't feel like storyline wise they were thing. But maybe they were probably the best choice out of all of them, I would say.
No, definitely. And that match, honestly, the tag team turmoil match, as far as the quality goes, I don't think it was that great. I mean, the match itself had a lot of botches. I think Lana had one. I think Dana Brooke had one or two, and then the ring announcer even announced the wrong team winning one of the pinfalls. He said the Riot Squad was eliminated when they were the ones that won, getting to the final match. So that match was a bit of a mess. But all right, Cesaro, Seth Rollins, Botch guy. you gotta tell me what you thought about this one. I'm interested to hear.
Oh, what a performance. Cesaro had his coming out moment, and it was so nice to see, like that 23-spin swing into the neutralizer. Like, how good was that? Like, that was just awesome. You know, Rollins hit a nice superplex into a Falcon Arrow for a near fall during the match. We've seen that a few times with Seth Rollins in the past. There were some nice spinning European uppercuts, like some nice drop kicks in the match. I thought there was some nice storytelling, and I thought it was a good back-and-forth affair. I don't think either wrestler looked bad during the match, and it was nice to see Cesaro pick up that win because he needed that win for his career. If people think, there's a lot of people say, well, wins don't really matter, it's about looking good. Well, Cesaro's looked good for years now. Cesaro's looked good for 5 years now. He needed a win. He needed a win, a singles win, not just the bar tag team stuff. He needed a singles win at WrestleMania, and good for Seth Rollins taking the pin here. It's really nice for Seth Rollins to do that because he didn't have to do that, and obviously there's a lot of respect there. What did you think?
Yeah, this was exactly what you were hoping for when you saw these two on the card. If you wanted number one, they needed enough time, and I think they got enough time. I mean, these are two guys that they could go in a 60-minute Iron Man match, and it would be epic. I mean, there's never any problem with these two in the ring. You got exactly what you thought you would. But to me, I mean, like you said, the neutralizer, the reversals into the neutralizer, the pedigree was pulled out of the bag of tricks. Kickouts were very believable. The crowd was invested, and I think you're right. Like, while on the surface, I think this match wasn't easy to call. It's not a match I would have put my money on for anything, just because you could make a case both ways. Looking back, it does make more sense that Cesaro won. I was rooting for Cesaro too, because Seth Rollins at this point in his career is a made man. He's Teflon. He could take some big losses, even if they're at WrestleMania, and he'd come back just fine because he can talk himself back into heat, talk himself back into a program. Cesaro is a guy that has yet to have a singles match on WrestleMania, which I'm glad Corey Graves pointed out, and get a victory at WrestleMania in his first singles match at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins. I'm just hopeful that they use this as a springboard for bigger and better things for Cesaro, and not just, oh, he had his moment, this is the crescendo of his career. No. I hope this is actually a foundation being laid for a potential championship run in 2021, sometime this year. I'm hopeful. So what do you think? Do you think that this is just a one-off for Cesaro of, hey, great job, here's your reward? Or do you think this is something that they're laying the foundation for bigger things coming for Cesaro?
Well, I'm hoping it's for bigger things coming forward for Cesaro, but I've seen a lot of wrestling, and I have a bad feeling this is just kind of like you did a great job. I'm going to give you this big win. It's going to elevate your career, but we're not going to push you to the main event scene or anything like that. And unless the fans absolutely demand it, like if the crowd starts going ballistic for Cesaro 24/7, kind of like they did with Drew McIntyre, I could potentially see it. But if they don't, then honestly, I can see Cesaro getting knocked down the card again. It's really unfortunate because of how good he is. But I feel like he needs that. He needs some sort of, I don't know if it's a gimmick change, but he needs something to kind of elevate him, not just with his wrestling, because Drew McIntyre found something, right? He found it. And I feel like Cesaro's missing that one final piece to make him, okay, this is the Universal Champion title caliber guy. It's not just a wrestler. I don't know what that is, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yep. He's got everything else. He's just missing that one intangible. And you're right. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's that I don't know, like a real personality, and the guy has one. You see flashes of it, but charisma, maybe there's something not quite complete. So you're right. The fans are going to be the ones to dictate it. Unfortunately, after tonight and tomorrow night, I don't know when fans will be back on any kind of regular basis, because it's going to be back to the Thunderdome era. I mean, they're not traveling yet. The pandemic is still kind of, up and down, but tailing away. And until states really start to open up and allow at least, maybe 50, 60, 70% capacity, WWE is probably going to decide it's not worth their money to just try to travel around the country. So we're going to have to enjoy the fans while they're here. And, the only voice we have after tonight and tomorrow night, if you're not in person, is social media. So, all right, well, let's move on to the tag team match. AJ Styles and Omos defeat the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Man, I'll say I was excited to see what Omos could do. I was concerned it was just going to be extremely limited. Now, compared to, a Bad Bunny, he didn't flop and fly around the ring like Bad Bunny did, but this was the debut of Omos, and I was impressed, but the bar was set so low for me with Omos in the ring that it really was not a hard thing to overcome. I mean, the bar was nearly on the floor. You just had to step over it for Omos. So, but I like his persona. I like that he showed some emotion during the match. I like that he had, he was screaming and he was intense. And that he was no-selling everything, so he kind of like fiended some of the things. I quote, fiended. We'll see a whole lot of no-selling tomorrow night, of course. But the Fiend, or Omos, was, I think, good for his role. He did some athletic things. He's a big dude. They constantly remind you of his stats of 7'3", 300 or 400 pounds or something. Whatever inflated stats that they give you, it's whatever. But AJ Styles certainly did his part, and it was I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed this, and I'm really glad that Omos and AJ Styles have the Raw Tag Team Championships. It felt immediately like value was added to it instead of the New Day carrying it incessantly. So what did you think?
That's all Omos needed to do was just stand there and no-sell everything when people were hitting them, and the crowd was reacting to every single moment of it. So, I thought Omos looked okay. He hit a lot of his deficiencies pretty well. I thought the New Day definitely sold like hell. And AJ Styles continues to be AJ Styles. I thought it was a solid, balanced match that made the competitors look pretty good, and Omos especially didn't look bad. And I thought he did a good job for how he was booked. Like, it was booked really well for him. He had that two-handed choke bomb, which was really nice with scoring the pin there for the titles, and I like kind of how he stepped over him. Like, I thought it made sense putting them over. I am a little bit surprised how easily they did it, but still, I thought it made sense. It definitely makes me feel like they can do some fun little storyline, gimmicks here going on with Omos and AJ Styles. But I saw the win coming, and I thought he performed really well. So there's not really too much to talk about from that match.
No,
a good job all around.
Agreed. All right. Well, Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon was next, and I got to say, going into this match, I was not a fan of the build to it. Like the thing is, and this is what I talked about on my previous show last night with my couple of my co-hosts, is that the build to a lot of these matches on the show were not good. If you took the build out and just looked at these on paper, I think I would have been more excited. But this one, to me, over-delivered. I was not a fan of the whole somebody calling somebody stupid, and that's the whole premise for the match. It was ridiculous on its face, and I didn't like how we're supposed to believe that a 6'7", 300-pound monster was bullied throughout his life, and now he's going to be the one to come forward and stand up for all bullies. I'm like, he's the opposite of the guy. He might be the one actually doing the bullying. I mean, I don't know, but he doesn't fit the bill for a guy, nor is he plausible to be the guy that I'm supposed to believe throughout his life was people were calling him stupid. I have my doubts that people were saying that to his face. Now, we've all been called stupid in our lives. I would assume most people at some point in their lives, somebody has called them stupid. But, these are grown men, and I didn't like that premise. That said, this match was better than I expected. The spot with Shane McMahon, as our caller pointed out, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan pointed out, about the pulling the hand through the cage. That was a hell of a spot. It made me cringe. Braun Strowman ripping the cage made sense. It was good. I mean, Elias and Jackson Riker got involved right at the beginning and beating him down with a chair, and then Shane McMahon comes in, you work the leg. Shane tries to escape as he would. Overall, look, you knew that Shane was going to take a big bump. He did. You knew that Shane McMahon was going to lose, and he did. This was exactly what it needed to be, a clean victory for Braun Strowman, and I'm okay with it. And I'm just hoping that this program is now over. What did you think?
I wasn't stupid. The match turned out to be pretty good. I loved okay, so I originally, at first I thought, okay, they're really going to go and do a power slam off the top of the cage. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, I was like, okay, that will do it for me. Like, that's the moment for me. I'll make a video on my channel on it, like, 100%. If you power slam, then they threw Shane McMahon off. And, like, yes, that's a crazy bump for normal people, but for Shane McMahon, that's not a WrestleMania bump for him. That's just like a normal pay-per-view bump for him, right? So, like, it was a pretty good moment. Shane McMahon, the one thing about Shane, man, like, he's ballsy. Like, you got to respect the fact that he's a really ballsy guy, man, and he'll take the bumps. He always takes the bumps. And the fact that he didn't just drop down when he was climbing on the outside and Braun ripping the cage kind of into little pieces there. Oh, man, I thought that was really well booked. Again, I've never seen that before. They made me entertained throughout the entire match, and that's one of the few Shane McMahon matches where I can say that, except for obviously the famous Hell in a Cell jump, right? So, yeah, I quite enjoyed it, actually, shockingly.
No, it was. I mean, there really, when you look up and down the card, there were no stinkers. I mean, if you're going to put a match that was probably the lowest on the card, it was probably the tag team turmoil match for the women, but even that one was watchable. It was watchable for sure. So there's nothing that you could point and go, man, this was just awful, at least in my estimation. So, all right. Well, now that we get to the main event, because we already talked about Bad Bunny and that match, so we skipped that one. And let's talk about the main event, which was Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm gonna be nice and let you take this one first, because there's a whole lot of praise to go around here in my mind.
You actually cut off a little bit there. Which match was that?
Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks
for
the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yes, unbelievable. Okay, so I gotta say this. Like, going into this match, personally, I thought that Sasha Banks was gonna win because, again, Bianca Belair is not, like, she's not as refined yet, right? She's like a diamond in the rough. She needs to still work on kind of refining her movesets and the way she cuts promos and mic skills and everything. That being said, she had the best match of her entire career. And to do that in front of a crowd, to do that, knowing that you're going to win this match, and to do that at WrestleMania as the main event, she showed some guts, courage, and I was floored by how well she performed overall. I thought the spots made a lot of sense. They had like exchanged little shoves. But she cried at the beginning of the match too. I think it's really sold the moment. That's always key, to sell the moment when it comes to this type of stuff. Now, Bianca Belair had like reversed and pulled Banks into like the post. That little spot there, I thought that was a nice spot. Overall, like there was a bunch of power bombs and to near falls and moonsaults even, and like front flips and frog splashes and a lot of kicks and like 450 splashes. Like, there was a lot of really athletic moves, but the thing everybody's going to talk about is going to be that whip near the end of the match that everybody heard across the planet. Oh my holy Lord, that whip on that with her hair on Sasha Banks, leaving that dent. And then, of course, obviously when she won and having her family almost jump the barricade, that was pretty incredible too. If you guys haven't seen that, I actually have that on my channel as well. The family, did you check that out, Matt? The family almost jumping the barricade there?
Yep.
Oh, unbelievable. So I loved it. I'm giving it an A, man. I thought it was a fantastic match between the two ladies.
It was so good. So good. And I actually thought that hair whip was a sound effect because, just as they were starting to, I really did. I watched it back a couple of times because it was it sounded so produced, and I'm thinking, why would they do that though? Because I mean, then they showed Sasha's side. I'm like, okay, that couldn't have been a sound effect, but they suddenly got happy with their production and doing sound effects for Braun Strowman and all that kind of thing. So I'm thinking, okay, they did or they didn't. I don't think they did, but the match was so good. I mean, physical. These women are going to be bruised and battered tomorrow morning, but they're wearing that with a badge of honor. It was really, really good for both women. Yeah, Sasha Banks lost, but I think she was elevated in that loss. She was elevated because this is probably the best match that Sasha's put on in quite a while as well. Better than she even did with Bayley, I think. This match was the best that she's had maybe in her career, arguably. Of course, it just happened, so people are fresh in their minds and thinking it could be the best. It's in certainly her top 5, I think, Sasha Banks' matches in her career. And in Bianca Belair's shorter career, this is easily the best one that she's had. It's at WrestleMania. She's got the championship. It was just physical. It was the ending with the reversals into the reversals were crazy. And the show of strength with Bianca Belair was insane. With Sasha Banks is she's not super heavy, but it's all proportional, right? Like she's still a woman that is around the same weight class that Bianca Belair is. Bianca Belair clearly much stronger, but keeping her up in that suspended suplex, bouncing her off the ropes, but then kind of just muscling her up several times. It was insane. Props to Bianca Belair and, of course, Sasha Banks, who did her part, more than did her part. The finish was really good. The crowd was all in on this. And I loved it. I have nothing that I can pick apart on this match.
No, it was a perfectly booked match, and it was performed really well. And like I said, Vince, Bianca Belair just pulled the best match of her career, and to do it in front of WrestleMania, in front of her family, in front of a crowd for the first time is just stunning. Like, honestly, it's just stunning.
What did you think about last thing? Because we've gone through all the matches here. Hulk Hogan, Titus O'Neil, and who was it? What's that? Bayley.
Bayley, yeah.
Yeah.
Ding dong.
Ding dong, yeah. So they got her on WrestleMania at least.
That's one way to get her on.
I'm trying to take a glass half full, yeah.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's the one thing about tonight that we could say, yeah.
Honestly, I feel bad for Bayley. I really do. Like, she carried the first 6 months, like during the pandemic. She absolutely carried that women's division. She was unbelievable, and the fact that she didn't have a match at WrestleMania is mind-boggling for me. Like, how is she not even in the tag team turmoil? You can't get Bayley a woman's like a partner and get her in there to win the titles or something. Like, you have to be something there, right?
I don't, like you said, where she was at the top of her game. She was, I think, even better than the men's storylines for a few months. And then to just go into obscurity, and then, she loses to Bianca Belair. She starts a Ding Dong Hello. She appears on the Stone Cold podcast and then goes gone, poof, like she didn't exist. And she showed up. I mean, that's a sign that at least WWE cared enough to put her on the show versus just completely ignoring her, which I think fans would have been even more angry about. But the fact she didn't even have any kind of match and was just this talk show host that she tried to create some kind of comedy for, you talk about a fall from grace. It's been quite a cliff for Bayley. That doesn't mean she can't just immediately get back into the picture now that WrestleMania will be concluded tomorrow night. It doesn't mean that, starting on Friday night for her, with SmackDown, that they can't just insert her back into the picture. She could maybe, get in the picture with Bianca Belair, or at least in the conversation, right? So I'm not super worried about her right now, but the fact that she wasn't on WrestleMania more than like just a couple of segments and joke segments, it was concerning.
What was your opinion on Hogan getting booed?
Yes. I'm not surprised. For a couple of reasons. Number one, fans aren't there to see Hulk Hogan. Number two, all the racist comments he said in the past, people don't forget about that stuff. And number three, we've gotten our fill of Hulk Hogan over the last decade and a half. Like, even if you're the biggest Hulk Hogan fan, there's only so many "what you gonna do, brothers," and well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. There's only so many things there's so many times you can hear that before it's kind of like, okay, dude, we get it. Thanks, Vince. Thanks for the memories. Hulk is one of the biggest names ever, but can we kind of move on to today's talent? So I think all of that combined, it's not a surprise that he got the reaction he did. Are you surprised?
Does anybody want to see Hulk Hogan nowadays? Like,
no.
Seriously, I don't know. Like, no offense to like all the Hulkamaniacs out there, but I don't know one person, honestly, truly, one person that wants to see Hulk Hogan in any sort of anything right now in this modern era right now. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he was trending for all the wrong reasons. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I guess the only person that doesn't understand or does understand it is Vince McMahon, because he's the one writing the checks. For some reason, feeling like Hulk Hogan is going to be a good idea to bring on the show. I think Titus could have done just fine by himself. I don't need Hulk Hogan, trying to steal the spotlight and say his catchphrases and all that kind of thing. Titus would have been just fine if they just made Titus just solo host of WrestleMania. He would have done great. He's a guy that you can trust him on the mic. You can trust him in front of a camera. He is their PR guy, their PR go-to guy. So yeah, I was not excited about this, and anyway. So Botch Guy, is there anything else as we close out the show that you wanted to mention? And obviously, you have a YouTube channel, so you can let our listeners know about that as well.
I just want to say thanks once again for having me. It's always a pleasure doing this with you, and you're one of the best in the absolute business. When it comes to podcasting and radio, I think you probably are the absolute best, and I think you should have millions and millions of people watching you. That's how good I think you are. And this is how you put people over, Vince McMahon, just letting you know. Secondly, yes, I do have a YouTube channel. If you guys can help me get to that 70K mark for subscribers, I'd really appreciate it. Humbly, this is me and my family's channel, my wife, my dogs, and we post content on there constantly, daily, basically, and if you want to have a nice little bit of a laugh and other stuff like that, definitely go subscribe over there and go take a look. And if you don't, well, then you can always just support Matt. That's okay, too. That works for me as well. So, yeah, just thanks for having me again, man. I appreciate it. See, Vince? That's how you put people over, man. That's how
take freaking notes, Vince. There you go. I like that. Yes, absolutely. And it is always a pleasure. And don't forget, guys, tomorrow night, we're going to be doing this same thing here tomorrow night with the live call-in as WrestleMania Night 2, which has some really, really big matches on it, arguably on paper, bigger matches than tonight. So we'll have to see if those deliver. And it'll be a really fun night tomorrow night to just wrap up the whole show and talk Night 2 with you. So.
Hey, Matt, quickly, is Kevin Owens jumping off the pirate ship tomorrow or what?
He's got to find something. Well, actually, I'll say that after, injuring himself for 6 months and then coming back and really being irrelevant for how long, I don't know if he'll risk it. I don't know. I think Logan Paul's going to eat this honor, probably. But I don't think he's going to be risking his career like he did last year, although the pirate ship is probably the next level up, right? Like off of the.
Maybe they'll throw Logan Paul off the pirate ship.
I think that would make some people very happy. He's a very polarizing figure.
Do something with the pirate ship. Like, come on. Like, there's an opportunity there, right?
I'm sure maybe Kevin's trying to convince McMahon right now. He's like, Vince, come on, just let me do it, and people will never forget it. I would laugh my ass off if he does that, because I think he took people to heart last year with people always joking he's going to jump off the WrestleMania sign. Obviously, people thinking that's never going to happen, and obviously he did last year. So, all right. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Botch Guy, and we'll be talking tomorrow night for part 2 of WrestleMania. Everyone go check out the Botch Guy's YouTube channel, one of the best as well. So thanks so much, and we will be in touch very soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.